Hi guys, William Murfitt here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video on That Green Mini's front hubs. So today we're turning attention to the front wheel bearings. We haven't gone for Timken, partly because I think Gareth's trying to keep the build to a budget, and secondly because everywhere he looked there was no stock for Timken bearings. So we've gone for a Q-drive bearing. No, I've never heard of those. We'll have to see how they get on. But today, I'm going to be fitting these.
I know you don't love me like you say you do.
Okay then, so let's get into this. This is now going to be me installing the front wheel bearings. So I start off by using a small hammer and tapping that outer race in just to sort of help locate it to start. And then using an old outer race which has been ground down, which was a fantastic recommendation in one of the comments on the rear hub video. So I do apologise, I've forgotten who commented, but if you're watching, thank you so much for that suggestion. I just took a grinder to the old race and just sort of wore it down a little bit, so it's still got the strength and it can go in, and then I can just pull it out nice and easily. So tapping that outer race down, it sort of locates pretty easily, and then I just used a punch just to fully locate that onto the race section on the inside of the hub. It took a few more taps than I thought, but I'm just working my way around in a circular motion to make sure it goes down level, true, and it's seated fully all the way around. Now when you're doing this, the note of it does change when it is located, and you'll know it's located when you look inside and you can see the outer race meeting that race section in there. So we'll flip this hub over now, and we'll turn our attention to the front side of this bearing. So we're going to do the same again. I'm going to put both outer races in, and then I'm going to install the inner race bearings. The reason I do the outer races at the same time is because when you flip the stuff over and you hit it with the hammer to locate it, what I have found doing it previously is the force pushes the bearings out and then they get dirty when they fall on things, so it's best just to make sure it's done in one sweep. So just check the inside now to make sure that both seats are located onto that raised section, and then I can get my grease. So I'm using it's a multi-purpose grease. It's for CV boots, wheel bearings, and other suspension components. It's really thick stuff, and actually I really like this stuff. I've used it previously and I will continue to use it, as I said on the rear hub video. So I'm just working the grease into the roller bearing, making sure that all inside the bearings are nice and lubricated, and then every now and again just spinning it up, making sure that there's no sort of gaps inside. You can typically, when you're using the bearings without any grease, you can hear them really loudly, and when you pack it out with grease, it tends to sort of soften that noise, and it does tend to roll a little bit smoother as well. So I'm just going to put a tiny little bit on the outer race, smear the inner race, and then I can install that into the hole. We have a locking ring, which then also goes on top of that outer race. That just slides in place and expands out, and then I put in the outer oil seal. That just pushed into place, and this little tap to seat it. I did have a bit of a camera issue there, so I unfortunately missed that one. Onto the other side, exactly the same process, but the only thing to make sure you remember is putting that spacer in. So the spacer spaces the two bearings out, so when it gets mounted onto the outer CV shaft, or the outer CV joint, that doesn't make the bearings touch each other, and you get a lot more, or a lot less play in those bearings. So with the outer race all greased up, the inner race all greased up, that's now ready to install. It just literally plops into place, making sure it's nice and flat across the outer race, and then the last job is to put that oil seal in. I can push most of it in by hand. It tends to be a little bit tight in some of the corners, so I just used a bit of a tap around as well. I don't think I can film that, but I just used a little tap, just a tap round just to make sure it's fully seated.
Okay, so there we have it. This is the hub, the ball joints and the front bearings are done. I'm just waiting for the new bolts for the steering arm, the lock tabs, and we are done. So I'll put this to one side, wait for the parts to arrive, and then we can fit the disc up and look at the calipers. So thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this content, as always, please click the thumbs up button, comment down below, and if you can, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content. That is me. I'm going in. I'll see you guys later.